Hey everyone, I'm Armory Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Legends. Welcome to a monster analysis on Gualgi. This is the newest and latest magic control monster. He's available if you complete the Legend Pass, and it doesn't matter if you're free to play or if you actually bought the Legends Pass. If you bought the Legends Pass, you actually get enough cells to get the monster ranked up. If you just play it completely free to play style, you essentially just get the monster, which is pretty darn cool. So everyone has the opportunity to get this monster, so if you're watching this video now and you're trying to decide whether or not this monster is worth it, I hope this analysis helps you decide. So let's get right into it. This monster has a life stat of 35,588, and in the magic category, that's like the 7th highest life stat. It's actually pretty good. His power is interesting. His power is 3531, one of the absolute highest in the magic category. It's actually tied with Scar the Outcast and Devastator, who recently got released. The only monsters that have a higher power stat are Privateer Morgan, Malaire, Wasper, Workahawk, Shade Moon, and Devestress. Oh wait, I mixed up Devestress and Devastator. Devastator is the old monster. Devestress is the one that just got released with the outstanding 3707 power. Anyhow, this monster has a high power stat. But if you take a look at the skills just really briefly, they all deal 0 damage with the exception of the skills from skills group 1, which is 50, 45, and 50. So this monster doesn't need a power stat per se. It's like you're not really going to benefit from it. However, the speed stat is actually tied with the power stat, 3531. This is one of the higher speed stats in the magic category. It's tied with monsters like Zygarde and Chingling. So 3531, the only monsters faster, and there's quite a bit of good deniers in the magic category, are Kronk's recently released Magic Denier, War Master Charizard, he's the War Master, Gretchen, Madam Fusion, and we also have Panda Claus and Cupid. However, those don't really even count. So yeah, we have ourselves another fast monster. But what's really cool about this monster is his skills, and we'll get into those after I mention he has an evolving trait. So he starts off with Hardened, that's pretty good, right? And then at rank 1 we have Possession Immunity, so this monster can't be possessed, which I think in the magic category, that's pretty good. And then at rank 3 you get Status Caster Area Torture Immunity. So just like the Nature War Master that does Status Caster Area Torture Immunity, this monster also does it, and I think that's actually very useful because there are so many tortures in the game now. There's so many tortures that monsters are immune to. Curse being probably the most devastating, right? Your HP and your stamina drops by 10%, then 20%, then 40%. That's crazy. You know, there's Ignite, there's Sunburn, there's Drowned, there's all of these DLTs. So being able to start the game off with torture immunity could really help. There's also quite a few monsters that start the game off with a torture. For example, Uglug starts the game off with Quicksand. Dragart starts the game off with Sunburn, Salot starts the game off with Ignite. So if you're facing any of those monsters and you have this monster, I believe your team will be completely protected from those DOTs. Alright, let's move on. Relics. This monster can hold the Mask Relic. This gives you quite a bit of options. Talonay's Mask, that starts off the game with all of your monsters having a shield. Exhausting Mask, if you get attacked you drain enemy stamina. Healing Mask, in case you need to recover HP. You have access to the staff, so Oblation Staff, although you can't really use that too much because you have to deal damage. And I don't know if one of the skills group 1 skills is AoE, I don't think so. So you're probably going to be benefiting more from like the Cane of Atlantis. Although a lot of his stamina is very low stamina cost, so if anything it'll benefit your teammates. But yeah, he can hold the mask, he can hold the staff. In terms of books, he's in the Evil Legions, he's in the Villains, and he's in the Spirits. And my oh my, is there a lot of competition in those books. But anyhow, without further ado, let's talk about his skill set. So we start the analysis off with Roadhouse Kick. Deals heavy special damage to an enemy, applies nightmares to all enemies. So single target special damage with an AoE nightmares. This could help you set up for a future monster that can hold the sword relic that has an Ignition Sword. That'll drain enemy stamina. Nightmares, by the way, also drains some stamina, so over the course of the time the enemy has it, so that's okay. It costs no cooldown. The cool thing is that it has no cooldown. So actually, if you notice, all of skills group 1 is actually spammable. So even if you got hit with CDA, you would be able to do something. Costs 25 stamina. Next up, we have Drowned in Sand. Ooh, I wonder what that's gonna do. So it deals heavy special damage to one enemy, applies Drown to one enemy, and Quicksand to one enemy. So one enemy monster will be Drowned and Quicksand. Curse Me 2 times is next, and oh boy, I wonder what that does. Deals heavy magic damage to an enemy, applies Curse to one enemy, applies Curse to an enemy. So the curse is pretty much going to land. Okay, so once again, all of those skills are spammable. They all cost 25 stamina. And so if you want to use those skills, you could. Removes 50% of stamina from one enemy, applies Sunburn to one enemy, applies Quicksand to one enemy. So a 50% stamina drain, Sunburn, and Quicksand. Okay, still single target. 19 stamina cost, 1 turn cooldown. Song of a Drowner. Applies bleed to an enemy, applies drown to all enemies, applies nightmares to enemies. Alright, so this is getting good. One enemy monster is going to get hit with 3 DOTs, bleed, drown, and nightmares. And then the allies get hit with nightmares and drowned. And again, this isn't going to be triggering any sort of relics, thanks to the fact that you don't deal any damage. We have Curse of Ancestors, which activates all cooldowns on one enemy and applies curse to all enemies. And there is our deny skill right here, our single target deny, Curse of Ancestors. Once again, you're activating cooldowns on a single enemy monster, so this helps against dodge area, and then you're applying curse to everyone. So again, against the dodge area monster, at least you'll hit him with the cooldowns activated. Alright, let's talk about skills group 3. We have It's High Noon, removes 30% of stamina from all enemies, applies quicksand to all enemies, requires cooldown. So It's High Noon is actually a pretty great skill. The 30% stamina drain, specifically if you're facing any Megaton monster, that becomes a 90% stamina drain. So it's a way to prevent the enemy monster, the enemy Megaton monster from potentially doing an attack. So that can be pretty good. Applies quicksand to all enemies. So again, against a Megaton monster, it'll absorb the quicksand. But if there's no Megaton monster, everyone gets hit with quicksand. Alright, Dark Ritual applies bleed to all enemies, gives 1 extra turn to itself. So Dark Ritual is cool because it's just a free DOT to the enemy. And you give yourself an extra turn. You just have to be careful for any anticipation monster, obviously. But yeah, everyone gets it with a bleeding. And then we have your last attack, Pit Viper Bite, which activates all cooldowns on enemies and applies poison to all enemies. So it's an AoE cooldown activated. Alright, it's an AoE cooldown activated with a poison. So the way I see it, if you have this monster, and we'll talk about the ultimate in a bit. If you have this monster and you give him 3 speedruns and you have him go first, you could, assuming there's no Megaton monster, assuming there's no anticipation monster, you could start the game off with Dark Ritual to activate bleeding on everyone, and then you can activate cooldowns on all enemies and poison. So with your first turn, all the enemy monsters have bleed and poison, which by the way, that reduces damage output each by 20%. So bleed and poison, and then the cooldowns are activated on everyone. On your next turn with this monster, you could potentially do, I think Song of a Drowner would probably be the best, right? Because that would drown in nightmares everyone. But then again, you could also do the AoE Curse and reactivate the cooldown on one enemy monster with Curse of the Ancestors. So you'd probably want to set down the Curse. Let's see, I'm trying to see what the best strategy is. Because you have a Poison Bleed, that's for sure, that's like guaranteed. You have an AoE Quicksand that does a 30% stamina drain. You know, I kind of wish It's High Noon would have dealt damage. That way you could have put an Oblation staff on this monster that would have worked a little better. Let's see, Sunburn applies Quicksand to an enemy. So you could also Sands, but probably not. So yeah, you're either going to be doing Song of a Drowner or Curse of Ancestors, I think, on the second turn. And I mean, this monster is he's just a heavy damage over time monster. So honestly, I think this monster is really going to be more of a team speed holder than a 3-speed kind of monster. Even if you do manage to get this monster rank 3 because you bought the season pass, I still think he serves really more as a team speed holder because there's also like better magic categories that can be deniers. So definitely put him as a team speed holder and just have him there to maybe do the torture. You can do the torture, right? Because he doesn't need any strength runes. He's there just to deal torture against the enemy, and he's there to activate cooldowns, whether it's single target or whether it's AoE cooldown activated. That's what I see him more as. He holds team speed, he helps your main denier go first, and then he applies the torture. So once again, you could kind of win with a team of no attackers because you just have so much torture you can deal against the enemy, whether you need a single target or whether you need to target everyone. And it's also a lot of stamina drain, so this monster can work really well with someone that can stamina drain. Like I said, if you do have some other monster on your team that can hold the sword relic and can do an AoE skill, well, that's perfect. You start off with Dark Ritual, and then you do Song of a Drowner. Everyone has nightmares. Your monster goes and drains stamina, and then you can apply the curse, and it's just a bunch of stamina drain. So as a torture damage dealer, I like this monster a lot. His ultimate attack applies Sunburn to enemies, applies Quicksand, and applies Nightmares, and applies Curse. That is 4 DOTs. Wow. Curse, Nightmares, Quicksand, and Sunburn. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. I'm also imagining this monster with, like, remember early on I mentioned there are monsters that start the game off with the torture skill? Like, for example, what if you have Dragar on your team holding all team speed, and what if you also have Saulot holding all team speed? The enemy starts the game off with Sunburn and Ignite, and then you go and you activate your Dark Ritual and you bleed everyone, and then you pit Viper Bite and you poison, so everyone has poison, bleed, sunburn, ignite from the start of the battle, and your other monsters haven't gone. It was just you denying them and doing that. Like, it works. In terms of like, is this monster good going like first in the meta? I would say probably not, because there is a lot of Megaton monsters, right? And you have no skill that clears positive effects, so if you do any of your AoE skills, it just gets absorbed by the Megaton monster, right? By the Dunrob, whatever. If there's a dodge area monster, again, unless you do Curse of the Ancestors, you're not going to be landing anything. And if there's a top monster, you can do your AoE, but yeah, you can't really Curse the Ancestors. So in terms of the meta, I see this monster more as a team speed holder. But I mean, definitely get him. Like, he's, in terms of, if you're watching this video right now when the Legends Season 2 pass came out, he's available free to play, so definitely get him. Good team speed holder. I'm not gonna mind getting him and being able to use some of his team speed and being able to use some of his torture skills and just having him boost my main deny. That's my plan for him. I like the monster. I love torture effects. I don't like torture. But anyhow, guys, with that being said, this has been a quick monster analysis. If you guys have any other thoughts about this monster, if you guys disagree with my opinion on him not really being that meta, let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to hear your argument. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And yeah, just drop a comment in the comments below. I try to read as many as possible. With that being said, I'm Ragnarök Gaming. Thank you all for watching, and I shall catch you all next time.